Hello, this is Ashley with the Clinton Public Library, and as I watch the snow melt from the snowstorm that we got last week, it makes me think about the other big snowstorm that I always hear about in Clinton's history, which is the blizzard of 1978. Here are some of the news articles from the Daily Clintonian in January and early February of 1978 about the blizzard that affected Clinton, Indiana. January 24th, 1978. Hazardous road caused early school closings. Early morning rainfall turned the recent cleared highways and streets into ice today, causing Clinton Police Chief Ben Turchi to issue a warning to all area residents to stay off the roads and highways unless it was absolutely necessary. Vermilion County Sheriff Jack Rochbach was kept busy patrolling the highways in the northern part of the county, on the lookout for vehicles that might have slid off the pavement due to the slick conditions. Schools in the North Vermilion School District were dismissed early today due to the road conditions, which were reported as being covered with a thin layer of ice. The high school was dismissed at 12:30 and the elementary schools at 12:45, it was announced. Schools in the South Vermilion District were closed 1 hour early today. We're always concerned about a child who finds no one home and may be left stranded in the cold, Superintendent James Hanna said. Vigo County schools closed 1 hour early. Indiana police reported all major highways having a thin layer of ice throughout the state. A worker at the Clinton garage of the Vermilion County Highway Department reported the county roads as very slick, saying that many cars were just sliding off the pavement due to the ice. Although none of the roads were closed, he advised not traveling them unless absolutely necessary. January 25th, 1978. Ready, aim, fire! There is never too much snow for a snowball fight, at least not for this pair. Mike Hudson, 10, prepares to let a snowball fly as his partner, Steve Pierce, 9, gathers ammo. January 26, 1978. City nearly shut down by mountains of white stuff. Clinton's commercial trade was at a near standstill today following a blizzard that covered the town with snowdrifts blocking cars and driveways and stacking the white stuff against entrances into many homes. A blizzard is something that Clinton hasn't witnessed for many years, although she has had her share of heavy snowfall in the past few years. The National Weather Service defines a blizzard as a storm where winds of 35 miles an hour or stronger continue for a period of at least 3 hours with considerable amounts of falling or blowing snow. This is a storm that Clinton residents will not soon forget. Snowdrifts 3 feet high were reported to be blocking the drive-in banking lanes at the Clinton State Bank this morning by a bank employee who waited in the Clintonian office while Mike Blackburn used his backhoe to remove the snowdrifts in front of the bank. Business on Main Street was almost at a standstill, according to George B. Carey, who ventured forth to take some pictures of the white stuff and reported that at this time Harris Food Store and Brothers Grocery Store were apparently the only two establishments in the area open for business. In a later report, it was learned that Gallows IGA Food Liner was open but would close at 6 p.m., and Harris Food Store would be closed at 4 p.m. Those who tried to use the telephone were often frustrated as a buzzing sound often interrupted dialing after 2 or 3 numbers were dialed. This was apparently due to an overload on the lines, although the office was closed and no one was available for comment. Public service workers reported that the crews were on a job and thankful that there were no reports of trouble so far. If the winds stayed low and don't blow any harder than they were this morning, they don't anticipate any trouble. A telephone call of the Clinton garage of the County Highway Department revealed that the county vehicles were all stranded in the garage, as well as the workers, most of whom had been there throughout the night and were running short of food. Virgil Shannon, supervisor of the Clinton garage, said that the crew in the Northern County garage in the Cayuga were also stranded. The winds are still blowing so hard that the snow would drift in behind us anyway, he said. The winds are supposed to lay at midnight and we'll probably start cleaning the roads then. Vermilion County Sheriff Jack Rochbach was apparently patrolling the highways, as were the county deputies, as many attempts to contact him by telephone for a report of the conditions of the northern Vermilion County failed. Clinton Police Chief Ben Turchie reported that the streets remained quiet since apparently everyone was playing it safe and staying home, although the telephone was quite busy with people requesting road reports. The Clinton Post Office halted all mail service as of 8 p.m. Wednesday. Leroy Gibson, assistant postmaster, reported that one of the main reasons for the closing was the highway conditions. State police would not let the mail trucks on the highway. According to Gibson, several Clinton residents who worked at the Terre Haute branch of the post office were stranded in Terre Haute last night and had spent the night in the annex. He said hopefully the mail would be back in service tomorrow morning. Picturesque. As viewed from the northeast, the Koronovich Funeral Home on 4th and Vine Streets is shrouded in pillars of snow, and limbs on the two huge pine trees were bending down under the weight of the snow. Melting snow from the roof had also frozen in sheets of ice down the east side of the home. Slow traffic. Swirling snow being driven by winds in excess of 50 miles per hour brought movement throughout Clinton to a standstill this morning. Looking north through the Main and Elm Street intersection, one could scarcely see more than 1 or 2 blocks depending on the force of the blowing snow. The spots in the picture were the snowflakes which had just stuck to Clintonian's camera lens. The above was taken at 8:42 this morning when the Clinton State Bank clock registered 5 degrees. Blizzard of 78 keeps roads, businesses closed. Already being referred to as the blizzard of 78, this ferocious winter storm of 2 nights ago still resulting in closed roads, businesses, schools, and cancellations today. Public Service Indiana ran into problems recently when the coal they generally burn at the Wabash River generating station froze and became damp. They began supplementing the coal with oil, 9,000 gallons per hour. Following the blizzard, which resulted in closed highways, the problems worsened for the PSI, as there could be no fuel delivered. The president of the Public Service, Hugh Barker, put it in a telephone call to the governor, Otis Bowen, explaining the problem. In the meantime, one of Herman White's machines cleared a route from the generating station to a fuel supply service south of Anaconda. The governor responded to Barker's phone conversation by directing the state highway department to keep the route clear to allow the oil trucks through. Tankers owned by John Scott of Scott Oil Company in Clinton have been running the route since late yesterday to keep the PSI generating plant supplied with the required amount of fuel. The Vermilion County Hospital is operating and ready for any emergency, according to Jerry Dooley, hospital administrator. Emergency surgeries was performed at the hospital last night, he said. The surgeon was already in Clinton, but a Vigo County resident used his 4-wheel drive vehicle to transport the anesthesiologist from South Terre Haute. We have nurses and maintenance crew workers who have worked throughout the blizzard period for 48 hours, Dooley said. The ambulance crew has kept the ambulance warmed up and ready for action if they are needed, he said. Hip deep. Wind did strange things over the past 48 hours in western Indiana, and the tall snowdrifts above just lets the head of one of the Clintons' parking meters stick out above its crest. The drift, which also encompasses a pickup truck, is between the Nicholas Loan Office and Rosenblatt on South Main Street. January 30th, 1978. Blizzard of 78 leaves snow, ice. Snow-packed, ice-covered streets and what seems to be mile-high piles of snow are left throughout the area to remind everyone of the blizzard of 78, a time when most people learned what it was like to be literally snowed in, an experience residents of the extreme north states and Canada have every winter. This winter, people have learned to rely on each other and help each other as the Midwest was covered with one of the worst snowfalls in recent history. The Clinton City Police, when asked about their experiences of late last week, were rather modest, simply saying that they had helped a lot of people. We took several people to the hospital and picked up several doctors and took them to the hospital too, officials said. Food, fuel, and medicine were carried to those who couldn't leave their homes by volunteers in their four-wheel drive vehicles and snowmobiles, members of the Vermilion County Sheriff's Department and Clinton Police. Residents in Vermilion County were lucky in that there were no serious fires in the rural area where access to fire department would almost certainly have been impossible. This appeared in the January 30th, 1978 newspaper. It was a series of photographs. The title of the photographs is Many Things Slowed or Stopped, but Clintonians' cameras kept clicking blizzards impact. Meter-high snow. Following the nationwide move to the metric system, Clinton had recorded its first meter-high snowfall. S.A. Meek Farm on US 36 buried until Saturday morning. Leonid and Rex Treadwell dig out their cars on US 36. Still's home in Dana. Sunrise over Mount Main Street. The morning sun hits the top of the temporary snow mountain in front of the old Meldlock jewelry store on Main Street. No parking. No parking is what the sign says, but it looks like it will be some time before this car will move from its parking spot. Many Cayuga homes had vehicles buried by the drift snow, and this image actually has an arrow showing where the vehicle is located. Snow bug. This bug parked on Main Street will have to wait for either the spring thaw or an industrious owner to free it from its snowy surroundings. State highway wrecks were left as is. Backyard playing halted. Freezing ice damages city building. Jeff Kelsheimer photographs Park County snowdrifts. Oscar Harness home in Dana. Weather stopped many businesses. This photo was in the February 2nd, 1978 newspaper. Unidentified Good Samaritans. These four snowmobilers were captured by the camera of Mrs. Susan Zanandrea last week as they were apparently loading groceries on their machines for transport to a stranded families in the area. The Good Samaritans could not be identified. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you were able to get out and play in the snow last week. I know my family did. We went sledding for the first time in many years. And please stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week.